I'm sure you've watched the replay a few times this week, Dan. Did you think there was maybe a free kick or two missed in the final couple of minutes on Saturday?
Yeah, maybe there was a couple that could have gone our way. But, yeah, probably our own worst enemy, though, leaving that run till the last quarter to kind of force the issue a bit. But, you get some, you don't get some. So, yeah, that's all fine.
It seemed like, as you said, you played with that. I guess there was nothing to lose, I suppose, in that last 5 minutes, but you played with that real flair trying to get those goals and get back in front. Is it too simple to say that you will try and play a bit more like that for the whole game going ahead?
No, that's not too simple. We've been trying to play away where we move the ball with a bit more flow for a number of weeks now. We've trained that way over pre-season. I mentioned that before. So our endeavour to move the ball with more flow, to get our inside 50 entries, to be more efficient is what we're after. It's just, on the weekend against Collingwood, we weren't allowed to do that. They were very good defensively and forced our hand a bit with some of our ball movement and execution. So we've got to get better in that space so that we become more efficient in our inside 50s. And we've trained pretty well this week around that space. So it'll be just a matter of how efficient we are with the footy in our hands.
It felt like, at least from where I was watching on the couch, that the entries inside 50 weren't as deep as I'm sure you were hoping for. How do you work on getting the ball to a position where you can go deeper instead of, I guess, kicking it in from further out, I suppose?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you look at our heat maps around the last few weeks, there have been some really shallow entries. So it just comes down to, again, around decision-making with the ball in hand. So because the games are pretty hotly contested, we don't have much time with the footy. And when we do have time with the footy, we need to make sure we're really efficient with the ball and make good decisions. So, if we can find an extra mark or two to work the ball forward so we get that deeper entry, that's the key. But also that synergy and connection between our mids and forwards is really important as well. So when we get that slow play entry, we need to make sure that we're making good calls around what we do next to the footy. And I thought that was pretty inconsistent in the weekend. And it's an area that we'll get better at, no doubt, as we go forward.
Have you sat down and worked through what the team will look like, and if so, any changes on the radar at this stage?
We had a good chat last night as a coaching group around some areas that we need to improve on, and at this stage we're waiting on a couple of players to see how they've pulled up from training, so there might be a change or two, but we're happy with, clearly our defence is going really well, so there won't be any change in our back half. Our midfield is going really well as well, so it'll just be a matter of how we feel with the personnel in our front half of the ground.
I'm sure it's come in a bit of a rush for her, I suppose, but how do you think Kalani went in her first game, thrust into the ruck there?
She did well for 29% game time, which is not, when you break it down, it's probably about 20 minutes, if that. But no, it was good for her to play and get a taste of AFLW footy. Everything's happened in such a quick time for her. So, 1 minute she's not on the list, then she is on the list, then she's playing at Gold Coast, and then she's not playing with us in the AFL team, and then bang, she's in. So she's had a pretty whirlwind preparation to get to where she's at the moment. So she's just getting her head around, being around her teammates and understanding the pace and tempo of the game. But I thought she did pretty well around the ball in terms of her ruck craft. Again, didn't get much opportunity, but then behind the ball she looked pretty strong as well. She was saying after the game how just getting used to how long the players are kicking the ball will dictate where she goes and where she and what input she has. So once she gets more practice in that space, I'm sure she'll continue to improve.
Is the plan to sort of build her up a little bit more game time wise?
Yeah, that's the plan. We need to be really strategic around how we pick our team. So if we feel from week to week that Kalani's in the team, yep, we'll play her and we'll support Liv and whoever else is doing the bulk of our ruck work. But if we feel that we're in a different lineup from week to week, then Kalani won't play, and she's really aware of that and she's happy with that. And at this stage of her career, it's about building the capacity to play the game longer. And if she's needed, she's needed.
Dan, not this week for Renee Gehring. I see she's back in contact training, looking at photos. Is that right?
She is, mate. Yeah, really exciting. She trained last night with the main group, doing some contact as well. Light contact. She's building into that space, but it's just like you can't stop her. Like she's been non-contact for a while, but she's been doing contact, if that makes sense. But no, she's not in selection for this week. But I think she's building over the next few 3 to 4 weeks in regards to putting her hand up around that space.
You go to Tassie to play North Melbourne, who you were really competitive against in round one of last season. Do you go back to that tape? It's only 7 months ago. Do you go back to that tape and have a bit of a look at it and see what you can take away from that, or has personnel changed too much, especially on the Kangaroos' behalf?
Yeah, I think you're right there, Kingy. I think not just the Kangaroos, but certainly our personnel have changed considerably as well since that round. So I know the Kangas have come off a really good win against Gold Coast, which would have been great for their confidence going forward, but then they've played two of the best teams in the competition, round 2 and round 3. So, and saying that too, they've only just lost those games, like they're well in those games to the very end. So I think for us, it's looking at the opportunities that we've had from round 1 to 3. Clearly round 1 and 2 we had pretty tight wins. We didn't outscore Richmond. I think we were 1 scoring shot less than them, but we certainly had 13 scoring shots against Fremantle, which was more than them. And we also had more scoring shots than Collingwood on the weekend as well, and lost the game. So as much as our defence is going really well, we just need to focus on what we're doing with the ball in our hands.
Is there a level of frustration? I know the Fremantle game, you got the score on the board, but is there a level of frustration from the girls that they're doing all this hard work, but there's just not the result on the scoreboard showing for what they're doing?
I don't think so. I think our girls are quite strong with the direction they're heading in. The conditions in Freo were horrendous with the wind and whatnot. To have 13 scoring shots and opportunities to score was positive, and to keep denying the opposition that opportunity is really important as well. And Collingwood was another game where it was hotly contested. Probably the two bookends of the ground were the best kind of component of the game, and I thought our midfield played exceptionally well. Georgia Besparkas keeps building her game. Amax keep building her game. Becky Webster's playing a really good brand of footy, which is what we want from our midfield. We want consistency. But we talk about consistency with the ball when we win the footy, and we're not consistent with the ball. So we've got no problem winning the ball back. It's just us building our capacity to be better with the footy in our hands.
Is Mia Skinner's knee soreness gone away, Dan, or is she still going to be one that you can't consider?
No, she's under consideration. She's fine. She had a bit of soreness during last week post the Fremantle game, but she's pulled up really well. I think the rest did her well. So she trained strong last night. Looked to have her zip back, which was good. So she's under strong consideration.
This is not a slight on the club in any way, but does it impact the amount of personnel you take or the way you travel when you have to travel interstate while the male side's playing on the same day? Does it have any impact on the amount of bodies you can take or anything like that when you're splitting the club, I suppose, in half like that?
No, we've got the AFL have stipulated numbers that we can take over to Tasmania, so we'll take what we need to take over to Tassie. It's a good opportunity. I love the travel part. It's great for the girls to get together and build those relationships and just hang out, which is great. So we'll take as many as we feel we need to. But there hasn't been any issues from the club in regards to travel or numbers or the whole COVID splits and whatnot. So everything seems to be going pretty well at the moment.
The delayed plane helped last time, I think. How do you plan on watching the final stages? Are you going to be in the air for the male game?
Yeah, I reckon. I think we might get some time back at the hotel post Friday night's game to watch a portion of it. But yeah, I think the back end of the AFL men's game, I don't think we'll see. So I reckon the pilot a couple of weeks ago gave us some updates as well, which I hope they do that again. So yeah, I'm assuming that will happen.
Your park will be foreign for most of your girls, Dan. Do you get a run on it tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, so we'll get to UTAS tomorrow around midday, and we'll probably have a bit of a captain's run, just get ourselves used to the ground. It's a lot bigger than what we've played on in the past, so it'd be good for the players to check out the width and the depth of the ground. Very light run. I think it's an open session for some of the supporters down there to come along and have a chat to the girls as well, which would be great. So we'll get there, have maybe an hour or so there, and then head back to the accommodation and prepare.
Yep. What size squad do you take? Do you take 23, 24 across?
Yeah, we'll probably take 23 at this stage. Yeah, we'll have a travelling emergency with us as well. But we need to make sure that, because there's no second-tier football at the moment, we need to make sure that our non-selected and our train-on squad are getting a real good body of work. So tomorrow night they'll have a really good session. We'll give them the weekend off, and then we've got a short weekend to St Kilda the week after, so we've got to make sure that there's a lot of training going on between that. So we won't take anyone who we think needs to continue to train.
Yep. Rachel Kearns, you'll probably get this question from Josh or I for the rest of the season or until she's right to go. How's she progressing? Are we getting to a point where you might be able to put a time frame on it in terms of her return?
She wanted to play last week. That's how burning she is to play. I think for her at the moment, it's like if she can put things she can reach into a cupboard and put things on the second shelf, then reach to the third shelf and go to the fourth shelf. That's about how she's kind of judging how she's improving at the moment. But she's been around. Like she's around. She's running. She ran last night, which is great. I wouldn't see her. We wouldn't think we'd see her until mid-season at the earliest.
Being only 10 rounds, Dan, you're 2-1. How big a game is this for your club to, if you can get stay ahead of the curve 3-1? Is it really crucial, or are we playing too much on it? Being a 10-round season, that round 4 has got a lot riding on it.
I'd be lying to say that we don't want to try and win as many early games as possible. But I don't think our squad, with the direction we're taking and the playing group that we've got and the improvement we've got in us, I don't think if we were not to be successful this weekend, I don't think that would hamper any of our games going forward or attitude going forward. I think we're a really strong chance to win, but just like they will be as well. Like I said, they've had Melbourne, Adelaide. We've had strong games against Collingwood and Fremantle away. So it's just about building that belief that we're good enough to play against the really good sides traditionally over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And that's not disrespecting teams. We've been in that boat. Like we're not winning games, but we are now. So that's the belief that we're trying to build with the group. And if we have a few hurdles on the way, that's so be it. But I don't think it's going to dictate how we feel going forward.